Hello there, my name is Chandler. I'm the founder and CEO of Moonblaze Games, and the main developer of Ichikketsu. Now you may be wondering, what is Ichikketsu? In September of 2013, in the quiet tourist town of Yasuhama, female high school student Suliku Kaningu was killed in a tragic accident by a gang of bullies who had thrown her off the school roof. Usually, this would have just received a warning and manslaughter charges before people moved on. However, in the 2 years that followed, a chain of bizarre disappearances and murders has plagued the otherwise still suburb. Many think the one responsible is Suliku's vengeful spirit, exacting uncharacteristic retribution on the living. Others vehemently hold that it is simply an elusive serial killer using her name as a masquerade. It is now October of 2015, and the long uninterrupted reign of terror has just ended as quickly as it began, without warning. No more vanishings and killings have happened thus far. In your possession is an ever-growing collection of surveillance tapes and recovered materials, which may reveal the circumstances behind this strange development. Moonblaze Games' debut title, which is still in the early stages of development and conception, Ichikketsu is a narrative-driven thriller with gameplay reminiscent of RPG horror titles such as Aoni, Ib, Misao, Yume Nikki, etc. As the tapes come to you, the story is told in disorganized fragments, and not all information will come to you. There will be no exposition. Details are instead fed to the player through conversation, suggestion, and world building. They are an outsider looking in. Playable missions come in the form of tapes, where the player gains control of one of 6 playable characters. Gameplay and objectives will differ noticeably between characters depending on their role in the story. Despite this, all missions follow a simple formula: linear objectives in large exploratory environments. For example, you may have to find one or more items in a sprawling building, with many locked or stuck doors barring your progression until you use the right tools. Or a stage can be broken into sections, separated by locked doors, which must be opened by finding a certain item and using it, or completing a given objective. The game will have 6 playable characters. The Atoner. A loner and realist with few notable contacts. He rejects the supernatural, instead believing that this Suliku is simply an elusive serial killer, well-equipped among the crowd of hysteria in which he blends well. He believes that bringing the wretch to justice will be his atonement for a past misdeed. The Maiden, a shy and obsessive girl, a protector to those close. Grew up with no relatives and few friends. Her heart longs for one to pour onto, charitable but also selfish. She has problems, and it's left at that. The Wanderer, resident no-gooder at Yasuhama High, rude and violent, but a mere compensation. She has spent her youth traveling the world with her military mother, and as a result, could not hold lasting relationships, much to her dismay. The Admirer, fallen slave to Suliku, to be released soon. Even then her soul remains lost and confused, her mind twisted by the eldritch space-time of her servitude. She owes a lot to her liberator. The Cleaners. They serve willingly under Suliku as her most skilled operators. They're usually reserved for dirty work, but occasionally carry out deals or some more esoteric jobs. Enigmas in their own right. The Past. Recovered materials have yielded what appears to be an entire collection of tapes, filmed personally by Suliku herself, before her untimely death. Testimonies have described her, when alive, as being normally soft and outgoing. One would wonder what had caused such a dramatic change in her character. Now that I have explained the gist of the game, let's look at some content of varying age that I would love to show you. Yeah, it's pretty bare bones. I'll admit I rushed this out for the Heartland Gaming Expo back in April, but I think it does a pretty decent enough job of portraying the idea of gameplay I'm going for. I can assure you that the actual demo and final release will play leagues better than this, with a proper stealth system, objective list, and inventory. Also of note is that this player character you see right now is none of the previous characters listed just a minute ago, but rather a standalone demo character with her own story and development that will be fleshed out in extras. It's mostly digital scribbles and one actual drawing, the latter also rushed out for Heartland. I know they don't look that good, but believe it or not, there's a reason these scribbles look the way they do. I was sort of gunning to portray the skeleton of reality here, or perhaps the most recognizable primal abstract. I have this one idea of the art dynamically changing based on the sanity of the moment, with the art becoming more raw and primal as it approaches closer to madness. Or that could just be me trying to compensate for my amateur art. All of the tracks you're about to hear are Edo no Chi era tracks, made quite a while back and no longer necessarily representative of the underlying tone I intend to present. That said, I'd love to hear your thoughts on these and whether or not you'd like me to go forward with a similar style. Enjoy! Whenever I feel like it, I occasionally do development streams where you can watch me work on Ichikketsu and ask me any questions you may have. Currently, I am hosting these streams on my personal channel, Chandler Makes Video, but I intend to migrate the streams over to this channel upon reaching a sizable subscriber base here. I'll admit that I may or may not have disappointed some of you with the small amount of content that I presented in this video. However, most of the time I do spend on Ichikketsu is done on the story, in my head no less. Do I want to kill off this certain character, or are they too important? How would this one event change the pacing of the story? Do I want to present the story across 5 acts, or only 3? Can I develop a certain character even further? All of these questions and more are racing throughout my head almost day in and day out. I have many ideas for the game's narrative, and I'm thinking almost around the clock about how I could realistically incorporate them into the game. With that said, this is the end of the video. I thank you for watching, and if you're interested, you can go on to the Moonblaze Games WordPress blog, where you can receive future updates on the game as they come.